This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. The Yankees are playing right now. They brought an opening day-ish lineup to play against the Minnesota Twins in spring training 3 weeks before opening day. Let's check on how it's going. I opened a door to a burning room on fire and everyone's screaming at me. Then I closed that door. Anthony Volpe made an error and a weird infield play. Garrett Cole gave up a 3-run homer to Matt Wallner and a home run to Brooks Lee. Fully filing away in the who gives a shit department. But as always, it's a fun time to be on the internet when Garrett Cole or Anthony Volpe or a combination of the two struggle in a game that doesn't count at all. Here come a cavalcade of the worst takes of all time. So hopefully we will keep you away from that. Watch us for an hour. Instead, we're going to be talking about dark horse candidates who could make this roster. A couple are making pushes, one more likely than the other, and two players who you've undoubtedly enjoyed so far this spring. They are not making the team. They ain't making it, but they're worth talking about. Plus, the Yankees' final potential third base free agent solution comes off the board. Gleyber Torres is still complaining, and DJ LeMahieu's injury has, sorry to say, never sounded more preordained. It's 2 o'clock Eastern. Thank you for joining us Monday, Thursday, 2 o'clock, and then on all your favorite podcast platforms afterwards, and even some of your least favorite. Joining me, as always, Thomas Carannante. Welcome to the show. Today's Yankees performance completely changes my viewpoint on this team's chances in the regular season. I don't know about you. I had them as a wild card, and now I have them winning 13 games, so I'm out.
Yeah, I had them done before this game started, and now they are officially done.
Mega cooked. It's just over.
Fully over. Garrett Cole's got to work through his stuff. Remember, Garrett Cole coming off an elbow injury, admirably performed after all that stuff went down. I don't think any of us expected to get that production out of him. If we're being honest, like
out-dueled Corbin Burns in the biggest regular season game of the year. That was fun.
Stepped up. It should have had one of the if his game 1 of the World Series isn't interrupted by Aaron Boone, and if his game 5 isn't upended by the defense not doing their job, like we're talking about an all-time World Series showing. I don't think that's an exaggeration. He was literally shutting down the Dodgers for those first 11 innings he was pitching or 10 innings he was pitching.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, whatever. Defensive errors are going to happen as long as I'm not worried about Volpe. Again, Volpe, very good fielder. Don't care if he makes an error here and there. Jason Dominguez has to improve in left field, would rather not see errors there. Cody Bellinger playing center field, an important position for us. I'd like to see that pretty in lockstep, and it is, so I'm glad about that. Third base, we don't know what we're getting out of it, but the defense there has been good, so we're not going to sit here and nitpick over errors. We're going to sit here and we're going to talk about position battles or guys who need to prove themselves early. I think we're gradually seeing improvement on most ends, though, so I really have no complaints, right?
I don't have any complaints. Again, Twitter shouldn't exist. And most days I'm like, but it's so essential for the day-to-day operations. Like, I can't help but read it. And then on a day like today, I'm like, oh, right. Yeah, it really shouldn't exist because you've got just a fleet of Bostonians getting their takes off. While like Cutter, what's his name? Other guy they use, not Cutter Crawford, the 7-star Cooper Criswell, right?
Cooper Criswell,
100 randos. He's getting stomped by the Blue Jays, and all their tweets are like, Volpe, are you serious? And it's like, oh, right, this is a discourse cesspool. This shouldn't exist anymore. But let's talk about a couple of potential fringe members of the roster, people who've impressed us. You don't become a dark horse candidate to make the roster. They don't make room for you in the conversation unless you're impressing. Nobody's like, well, he was 1 for 16 with 12 Ks, and he's kind of a dark horse at this point. No, he's the darkest horse on earth. He's a charcoal black horse. The headless horseman. The horse that Ralphie burned in Tony Soprano's stable. Like, he's the blackest horse of all time. Pio Mai, yeah, an extremely dark horse. So dark, it's in fact charcoal and cinders. But the Yankees have a couple of people who are options who might make the roster, and yes. Especially, so I want to talk about Dom Smith today. And the Dom Smith case could be affected by what we're hearing from Joel Sherman and, the stuff that's been floating around the rumor mill that Sherman would be. Aaron Boone hinted at this. Maybe somebody outside comes and helps us, and we don't. Hey, things are always floating around during Monday night's broadcast. And Sherman said, "People keep pointing me to Pereira, and I was surprised by that. And it keeps coming back to people saying a right-handed bat for either field or third base, and it's like, okay, well that's I've been working on that for a long time.
The camera angle's looking up at him too. It's always so good.
He's in the hotel, phone on knee. It's like we're almost there. We're close. But he's saying, he would not be surprised, and in fact might be surprised if the case was the opposite, that the Yankees are going to bring in a right-handed bat by the end of spring to play either third base or in the outfield. Could be a fourth outfield type, could be instead of Trent Grisham. Maybe you save some Trent Grisham money. I'm not sure. Third base makes more sense. But he mentioned a John Birdie-esque move, which, again, my first question is, you could have kept John Birdie. You had him under contract. You non-tendered him. So that was sick. You could have just maintained that man. Your John Birdie move could have been a man named John Birdie. But he's a Chicago Cub now. So, hey, if they're making a move and they're clogging up an additional roster spot, that probably means Sia, Oswald Peraza, Yoendris Gomez. These are the without options guys who either have to make the opening day roster or get exposed to waivers. I can't imagine Yoendris Gomez is a favorite to make the bullpen mix. The only thing keeping him going is the out of options thing. Peraza right now definitely slated to make the team, but if they add at third, he'll be a part of the trade because they are not, or he'll be a part of a separate trade because they are not going to DFA Oswald Peraza. That would be deeply silly. They shouldn't do that. His trade value in the toilet, it no longer matters. So someone's going to get a bargain there, but still got to trade him. If they bring in somebody, they are probably not carrying a non-roster invitee, I would suspect, because they're already pretty close to the limit. But if these are the guys, if they're taking Peraza north and they are taking Oswaldo Cabrera north, and this is the team, then Dom Smith really might get carried as the opening day DH. Yeah. And today's lineup looked like what I expect to see on opening day, except Judge was the DH. I think that'll happen from time to time, but I wouldn't expect it opening day. And Trent Grisham was in center field. Bellinger was in right, and Dominguez was still in left. Yeah, sure, but I think you're likelier to see Judge, Bellinger, Dominguez, and then a DH, insert DH option on opening day. And in this case, it would be Dom Smith if nobody else shows up. If they do not make a late trade, he's by far the NRI who's made the strongest first impression, not including like Brent Hedrick in the bullpen, who I think has a chance to get carried on the active roster, but he's on the 40 man. They don't have to make a crazy shuffle. Dom Smith just hanging out. So he either makes the team or doesn't. I don't think he's going to AAA. I think they're going to get to nut cutting time, but Giancarlo Stanton had double injections, PRP injections in his elbows. Surgery still a last resort, but we're getting closer and closer to the resort. I can see the resort on the horizon. There's a bellhop. He's waving at me. He's asking if he can take my bags. And I'm like, fuck, man, I don't want you to take my bags, but maybe you have to. Dom Smith, 4 for 14, 2 homers, 7 ribs so far. Nice 2-run broken bat single the other day. He thinks he unlocked something last year. He was also good last year. We're not talking about somebody who's never been good before, performing out of nowhere. Also a ballyhooed prospect for the Mets. He was a 96 OPS plus guy with Boston last year in 84 games. That means just about league average. Knocked in 34 runs and 278 plate appearances. You could do much worse. 20 doubles in 249 at-bats for Dom Smith last year. The power never developed as they hoped. There was that one great year. It also just happened to be 60 games long in 2020. A guy with prospect pedigree, a guy who's done it before at the major league level. And I think this isn't Willie Calhoun here. This is not a long-term solution, but opening day, I'd rather have him at DH than Judge at DH and Grisham in center.
Yeah, I don't think this is coping either. It just is what it is. Like the Yankees waited this. We're fully critical of the Yankees waiting this out long enough to the point where they essentially have no options, or we're looking at a journeyman player filling in important at-bats. We've seen a lot of Dom Smith during his time with the Mets. We saw a lot of Dom Smith last year when he was playing with the Red Sox. Dom Smith is a veteran who puts forth good at-bats. I know he strikes out a lot, but he's got power. He has a veteran eye, and I think that that's going to be what's valued in terms of replacing these Stanton at-bats. You're never replacing Giancarlo Stanton. The presence in the batter's box is, in the top 10 percentile in the league. The power is in the top 1 percentile in the league. Dom Smith is not altering the complexion of this lineup by any means, but he's a veteran. He is not some throw-in type of player like you said, Willie Calhoun. Willie Calhoun was a throw-in. It was like, we'll see what happens, and if he can do it, I guess we'll try it. And it was one of those. And you also have those situations across the roster with someone like Everson Pereira, where you're like, is this guy, can he do it? I don't know. Oswald Peraza, I don't know. Can he do it? Yeah, we'll throw him at bats. We'll see what happens. Like, they're trying to avoid that, I think, for the most part. They're going to put themselves in that situation eventually because there's not enough depth here. All it's going to take is one more injury, and then we're having a completely different conversation. But, yeah, Dom Smith, opening day roster, I'm not against it. Look, Franchy Cordero was here 2 years ago. And what did he do in April? He hit 6 home runs or 5 home runs, and he literally lifted the team to multiple victories. And then they got rid of him when the time ran its course. Is that going to be Dom Smith's fate? Maybe. Probably. I mean, I think he'll be better than Franchy Cordero in terms of impact and ability to maybe see more pitches and come through in high pressure moments because he's had more experience. But this is the type of signing that it is. It's fill in some good at bats for me in the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season, and we'll go from there. If you're producing, great. You have a bench role. That's awesome for the rest of the year. If you're not, find a new home. We'll figure it out.
And it was crazy to say, but I actually did like the projected bench the last time I saw it. So let's keep that up. I would like to continue enjoying the
that is coping.
Bench. Yeah. Oh, it's coping for sure. No doubt. I mean, look, bottom of that opening day lineup with Grisham and Oswaldo, you're like, okay. Please don't be the June lineup. But yeah, whatever. I see it. Hey, Will Warren, shout out on every podcast until the end of spring training, probably. Right now is the 6th starter. The 7th starter is Carlos Carrasco. That means depth, not fantastic. But also you could do, it's hard to do much better than Warren as the first guy into the rotation right now. Can't believe we're saying that after what we saw last year, but who are you more confident in right now across baseball for a 6th fill-in starter? He hopefully took his lumps last year, and this year he got the Luis Gil test this week, having to start against the Phillies number 1A lineup: Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, JT Realmuto, Kyle Schwarber, no Castellanos, but everybody else was there. And it was like, all right, the first 2 outings were great, but how is he going to perform when he's going to have to face the big guns? And 3 innings, 1 hit, 1 earned. He gave up a home run to Max Kepler. He walked 1. He struck out 4, and among those he struck out, it was all the guys. He got Harper. He got Realmuto. Like, the breaker was working. The fastball was working. This is not an automatic ticket to regular season Major League stardom, but it is a real checkbox, an actual test. Hey, your first 2 outings were great, but show us something. Exam. Here it is. And he did. And last year, all camp long, Luis Gil had a very similar outing on the road in Clearwater. And that was the moment when we started saying, okay, I wasn't expecting this guy to even have a chance at the rotation. And now I don't know how you keep him out. And then Garrett Cole gets hurt. And it's like, all right, I mean, this is your guy, right? You're going to go with upside over whatever else you were supposed to rely on. And he couldn't have delivered more. Was a non-factor over the summer, did get hurt. And by the World Series was your number 4 starter. And you were crossing your fingers he could give you 3 innings, which is why I don't know how much I'm sweating bullets over not having him for the first half. I'm sad. Yeah. But he had some things to work out through the vast majority of the second half of last year. They clearly lingered. He's got more stuff. Godspeed. We have Marcus Stroman. The Yankees wish they didn't have that contract. They'll be able to manipulate that in the second half, I'm sure. Maybe Gil comes back. Maybe Warren takes more starts. But right now, I still feel confident with the top 6. And Warren's a part of that. And I didn't necessarily feel confident in him as depth. When I thought we were trading Stroman, I was like, oof, I don't know. And now I've seen 3 Warren starts. And I'm like, the Michael King comps last year, I thought I could see it, but optimistic, and it's going to take time. And now I'm like, did it only take an offseason? It already feels like we're there.
Yeah. Looks like a completely different pitcher. I mean, you watch the highlights from the outing against the Phillies. The fastball's elevated. It has a ton of life. The sweeper looks like a Frisbee. The changeup is dropping at the last moment. Like it's awesome. The sinker, same thing. It's night and day. So again, whatever it was, Clearly the fix has been made, whether it was the jitters, whether there was a mechanical tweak, whether, I don't know. Look, am I confident in him making 25 starts? No. Am I confident in him now inserting himself into the conversation and giving the Yankees depth? Absolutely. I think what people are, and look, I'm not sold on the rotation yet because I need to see Clark Schmidt in a game. Clark Schmidt in a game needs to happen. Still has not happened. Dealing with this back issue. Clark Schmidt has mostly been injured throughout his MLB career. Like I don't think they fully pay attention to that. He had the 132 start season. Other than that, it's been injury after injury. So I'm going to, and again, he's somebody who has trouble going deep into games. He completely unravels late in the fourth, early in the fifth inning, and it impacts the Yankees in ways that you don't expect on the surface. But it has longer term effects. So you look at the top of the rotation, Garrett Cole, amazing. Love him. No, I was critical of him previously, but the fact that he's battled back, I still, something in the back of my head is concerned a little bit about the elbow, just because. Why would you not? We had the same thought process with Masahiro Tanaka when he didn't get the surgery. I know Cole's injury was different, but Cole's a power pitcher. It just changes your perspective a little bit. Max Fried.
Luke Weaver just, by the way, threw an inning and it was hitting like 92, 93 with the cutter or whatever, home run, only retired one of 4 batters. Like, that's the stuff where I'm like, don't love that. Like, the guy who threw 100 innings last year.
Yeah.
Don't love that. Like, some spring struggles and some velocity numbers and that stuff actually does matter.
It's true. It's absolutely true. And we don't want to be pessimists or worry warts, but I mean, some of this stuff is real. Max Fried, I'm thrilled about. I think he's going to be great. I know there's oft injured stuff there, blisters, finger things, hamstrings, whatever. Like, again, just give me 25 good starts and it's fine. Carlos Rodon, he's not great. And I think everybody just needs to live with that. It is what it is. I hope he turns it around. I think he has the potential to. We've had 2 years of a very, very roller coaster-y sample size, and I don't see it normalizing just because it's kind of hard to do that after this is how your start's been. Like I said, Schmidt, we need to see. Stroman, we can have this conversation till we're blue in the face. Stroman is an important piece of what is happening here. Stroman can win you games. Will he win you a ton of games? No. Will he win you 7 games? Yeah. And that's a big difference from, like, say, what happened last year when the Yankees brought in Will Warren for 8 to 10 spot starts and 95% of them were a disaster. So, yeah, will Stroman break down at the second half of the season if they don't trade him? History says yeah, but guess what? Manage his workload properly, get him out of the gate quick at the beginning of the season, and we'll be in fine shape. And then Will Warren, hey, if you could slot in and give me 20, awesome. But for the time being, with Heel's injury, Heel's not coming back till June, man. And if I'd say All-Star break, it's going to be All-Star break. Like, it just is what it is. And this is how they handle injuries. And this is the real look. He has the same injury as Clark Schmidt. Clark Schmidt was out from May 26th until September 7th last year. I don't know if that's the Yankees' fault. I don't know if it was the nature of the injury. The Yankees, Schmidt was pitching at the end of Schmidt was throwing live sessions at the end of July last year, and he didn't come back to the majors in September. So I don't know if there was a setback there or the Yankees were just, again, they like to play with their food. Oh, we can last long enough without this guy. No, you can't. Work them up, bring them back. It's a lat injury. Like, everything's going to be fine. So if the nature of the injury was that's the length of time you're out, then we got to be a little bit more pessimistic about where Luis Heel is going to land. Now you look at other options. Carlos Carrasco. I have no faith in him, not because I think he's bad. I just think he's old, and the workload that a pitcher of that age has to take on as that 6th or 7th starter is a lot. And those starts are a little bit more magnified because it's like, hey man, you're getting your shot now. So, like, please deliver. And it's harder to do that because the opportunities are few and far between. That said, the structure of the rotation is still better than a majority in the league. So you have to hang your hat on that. Mm-hmm. Now it's just about putting these pieces into place and hoping they sustain. But the X factor here is Clark Schmidt being healthy and him proving it to us before the start of the season.
Yeah, and the relievers aren't getting into games, and there's a reason, because they were overworked last year, and
Yep.
I don't blame Aaron Boone for holding out Luke Weaver until today, and I did not like what I saw, so I don't mind him being held out even longer. You just hope he can get somewhere close to ready by opening day, by the games that actually matter. Ian Hamilton, Devin Williams threw an inning in a 10-1 game the other day. Fire Boone. What is he doing? But I mean, yeah, Ian Hamilton, Mark Leiter, we haven't seen most of these quote unquote top names. And Fernando Cruz is struggling at, today as well with his command and control. So yeah, I'm confident in the names. I'm not confident in the process, I guess. We'll try to figure it out. Hopefully we'll get to a point where we can feel comfortable there, but I don't mind them holding those folks out. I don't mind them slow playing Clark Schmidt. We just need to see it sooner rather than later. And we're 3 weeks out of opening day. So again, good for Will Warren. The longer we don't see Clark Schmidt, we don't think it's a serious injury, but the longer we don't see him and the more Will Warren is built up, like maybe Schmidt's on the 10-day to start the season. Like, I don't know. Not seeing a starter at this point with only 3 weeks to go, kind of important. You probably need an opening day rotation member to get into one game by the time you're 3 weeks out. Late praise for Spencer Jones and George Lombard Jr. They are not making moves towards making this opening day roster. They will not be on it. Do not get that through your head. It's the number one thing. I mean, maybe not after today when Cole and Weaver were bad. Maybe people are going to start screaming about that. But the number one thing people are screaming about, play Lombard right away. Plug him in at third. We need a third baseman, don't we? He's an overgrown shortstop. Spencer Jones, why can't he be the opening day DH? Weirdly, Lombard, who's 19, is more realistic to me. I do think you could probably put him at third. He'd play good defense. He'd have his ups and downs. I wouldn't do that. I think it's a bad idea, but he pretty clearly looks like young Carlos Correa, and I don't think it's wild to be having that conversation by opening day next year. But he hit 212 in the low minors last year. No, he's not my opening day third baseman. Sorry. He's been phenomenal, though. You couldn't have wanted to see more out of him. He filled out. The home runs are one thing. The opposite field single the other way against Zack Wheeler for a ribby is another. And Jones, too. Lifting the ball that's all we need out of it. The strikeouts are going to come. The Joey Gallo comparisons are getting people are rolling their eyes.
Who the fuck said that?
Everybody's saying that. Like, with this strikeout rate, he's the best case scenario is Joey Gallo. Not Yankees Joey Gallo, though. Right? We're talking
Rangers All-Star
home
Joey
run,
Gallo.
Rangers All-Star Joey Gallo, athleticism in the outfield, and 40 bombs. So it's a tough ceiling to match, and obviously that player long-term becomes Yankees Joey Gallo, and some of that is pressure and some of that is body. But yeah, I think Jones has done everything we've asked of him. He's checked every box, but remember, he did that last spring too. And then he went down to Double A and had a pretty good year. A lot of Ks, 17 homers, some of them prodigious, good fielding, but he's not your opening day DH. I'm sorry, everybody. Like, nobody in the Yankees minor league system has more to work on than Spencer Jones.
Correct.
And having him do that in the opening day lineup would be one of the most absurd overreactions I've seen in recent years watching this team. And also not the kind of absurd overreaction that the team actually does. Something the fans want, but the team knows better than to start Spencer Jones on opening day. So it's just simply not happening. It's not even worth debating. It's not a debate. It's a thing that won't happen. It's not one side says this, one side says another. You're not going to see it. So, but the more he can provide during spring training, he and George Lombard Jr. are in spring breakout. Kind of weird to see him in there considering they've spent so much time with the big club. But yeah, the more showcases, the better. The more confidence builders, the better. Opening day roster, not even worth talking about.
No, not at all. But hey, the early promising performance in spring, hey, gets me excited to follow. I'm not a prospects guy, but now I'm going to follow them a little bit because I know I got frustrated following Jones last year after his big spring because then it became a disaster. But he looks like a new hitter based on his stance and the way that he's driving the ball. And Lombard he looks legit in terms of prospect pedigree. So those will be pretty fun to watch throughout the year. And it'll give us storylines for, hey, Spencer Jones has a big first 2 months. Like, that's a second half acquisition for the Yankees if they want to bring him up. But yeah, start of the season, absolutely not for either of these guys. It would be malpractice in terms of development. No offense to Anthony Volpe, but I think the Yankees did that already with Anthony Volpe. He had 20 games at AAA. They gave him the shortstop job for, again, reasons we don't understand, and refused to move him out of it, refused to give him days off. And we're seeing diminishing returns on the offensive end. Hoping for a boost in year 3, though. Optimism. In terms of other players here, Everson Pereira, like, do we know when he's going to play the field again?
There were June rumors. I mean, it's
that
not
late?
it's not even a year out from Tommy John. I think he had Tommy John in June last year. So, yeah, Joel Sherman again citing him. He said
he was talking about seeing him play some defense to make a decision on whether he's going to platoon with Dominguez or not. Okay.
And he was talking about him being a plus corner outfielder, which would be huge.
It would be massive. But anyway, he is 4 for 12 this spring with a home run, 2 RBI. He's got a stolen base, which is cool. You always want to see that. And I don't know if I'm being a little crazy here, but if the Yankees don't find a trade partner for somebody, and they're not sold on people like you were saying, Peraza and whatnot, and if they do trade him, they don't get what they need in return, like, is it crazy Pablo Reyes is on this opening day roster? Like, maybe not right now, but he's hitting 286 this spring. He's 4 for 14. He stole 2 bases and drove in 2 runs and walked 3 times. Like, this is a guy who was good for the Red Sox in 2023. Like, and by good, I mean he hit 287 with a 716 OPS and was able to play a multitude of positions. I don't know where his versatility lies at this moment. But most recently over the past, 2 seasons, because I think that's fair, he's played shortstop, third base, second base, and first base. So I understand the Yankees probably need maybe some outfield reps there, depending on how they're going to deploy Trent Grisham. But at the very least, they could have a veteran version of Oswaldo Cabrera, or if Oswaldo Cabrera is the starting third baseman, like, then Pablo Reyes becomes Oswaldo Cabrera Jr. I don't know. But again, guys, 2 years removed from having a very productive 90-game stint with the Red Sox and has MLB experience. So I don't know. I'm not coping. I don't want him on the opening day roster. I think if he's on the opening day roster, something has gone wrong. But this is the information I have at my disposal, folks. This is it.
That's Cope. I mean, you said I was talking before it was Cope, and that's Cope
guy.
Pablo Reyes sucks. But yeah, no, I mean, what he did with the Red Sox in 2023 is more than what you can expect out of Oswald Peraza, I would say.
Exactly.
OPS over 700, 286 average, putting the ball in play.
Yep.
Still below league average offensive performance, but we're probably going to have below league average offensive performance. We did last year with Alex Verdugo. We did last year with Anthony Rizzo. We've had that before. So the closest you can get to league average, that would be great. I wouldn't rule it out for sure. 3 weeks is a lot of time. Could lose, hopefully, more names drop off the depth chart. Don't want to see that, but early cuts, just the names that you'd expect, the prospects, the people who definitely need more seasoning, and nothing noteworthy that tells us anything about their plans. Austin Wells leading off today, probably the most noteworthy examination of their plans we've had so far. Or Aaron Boone praising Dom Smith, or the puff pieces coming out about Dom Smith. So we know almost nothing, except for that Jose Iglesias will not be an option for the New York Yankees.
Why?
Minor league deal with $3 million guaranteed and a $1 million signing bonus with the Padres is the most Yankees are broke shit I have ever seen in my life. So I don't know. Look, evaluations differ across the league. This is a guy who put up a 137 OPS plus last year, and arguably outside of the actual second place MVP finisher for the Mets was the MVP of the Mets as they made an NLCS run. 3.1 WAR in 270 at-bats last year, and would have very specifically helped the Yankees with their problem against lefties. The San Diego Padres, the Yankees have no money. They're telling us they have money. They're lying to us, but they're saying they have no money, right? Okay, fine. I'll take you at your word. You know who else has no money? The San Diego Padres. They really don't have money. They're offering people $1 million as their 3 potential future owners and chair people fight and sue each other and wage wars through the media. They have not cash. They do not have money to play with. They're offering everyone $1 million base salaries, basically. Nick Pivetta is making $1 million this year and then like 22 next year. backloaded. They're being very creative. And that approach has managed to hook Jason Hayward, Pivetta, Kyle Hart, Iglesias, who is not even guaranteed a major league roster spot. If Jose Iglesias ends up signing for 1 year, $6.5 million, then I'm like, yeah, sure. The Yankees need to see what they have in Peraza. Don't do it, I guess. Reassess at the trade deadline. Hope he goes somewhere where they're falling out of it, or swing a trade for Willie Castro, or go big for Nolan Arenado, or whatever you're going to do. But minor league deal, I mean, he's signing for Dom Smith figures. I wasn't going to do a what are we doing here until I saw minor league deal, and so now I'll do a what are we doing here. There are Brendan Rodgers minor league deal. What are we doing here? Not someone who personally interests me all that much, but we're talking about people who were tied to the Yankees in January getting minor league fucking deals elsewhere. Not $7.5 million for Jorge Polanco. Like, people are talking to the Yankees and then getting flyers from other teams, including the Astros, your supposed rival. So how broke are you? Broker than the Padres? You can't be broker than the Padres if you're the defending AL champs and you got waxed in the World Series and you need to improve. Not because you didn't win the World Series. So you don't have to raise your payroll by $70 million. You didn't get Juan Soto. I think you could do a minor league deal for Jose Iglesias, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. Is it a principle thing? Are these teams like, fuck it, if the Yankees aren't paying me, I'm going somewhere else that I'd, one, rather be, or two, just to prove a point? Like, I literally don't know. It's just as confounding. Like, Jose Quintana, too, signed for $4 million with the Brewers on Monday night. The Yankees knew what was happening with Luis Gil. And if they have Clark Schmidt on the mend right now, and they don't entirely know what they have out of Will Warren. So, and they know that the Marcus Stroman situation is not the greatest. So, like, at that point, why aren't you making a micro free agency move to insure yourselves? And I don't understand. There's all types of stuff that goes into this, right? But I look at the Yankees and how they structure their spring every year, and it is to limit the amount of competition. They want the least amount of competition in spring training, and it's something I'll never understand, because spring training is supposed to be a breeding ground for competition. And I understand you don't need competition across the roster. You're the Yankees, right? You have the money to spend on superstar players whose positions will never be in jeopardy going into spring training, or until the last few years of their contract. That's the only time. So the Yankees have a lot of settled situations, but you look at who they invited to spring this year, and it's Dom Smith, it's Alex Jackson, or they got him in the trade with the Reds.
Yeah, they brought in 124 hitting Alex Jackson in a trade with the Reds, and I don't think he's winning the backup catcher battle. But he did homer the other day.
But I mean, they didn't sign him, but this Alex Jackson was part of their spring plan. Andrew Velasquez they brought back to compete in the infield, and it's just like, what? JC Escar is another one. Do we have high hopes for him? I don't know, but he's like late 20s and has no major league experience. And then the aforementioned Pablo Reyes, who I was coping about. So you look at these and Braden Shoemake. Like, you look at all these guys and you're like, none of these guys are going to threaten for a spot.
Has Braden Shoemake played yet? Like,
yeah,
I haven't even noticed him.
Yeah. He's batting 0. That's why he's 0 for 6.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So he's probably a shoo-in for the big league roster. All he has to do is perform.
And unfortunately, some of the guys that they were hoping would battle, like maybe TJ Rumfield and Yorbit Vivas and who else am I thinking of? Peraza and Pereira. Like, Pereira's doing well. Peraza still needs to pick it up, but my point is that there's no clear threat. Like, they didn't sit. So, like, let's say TJ LeMahieu was healthy right now, right? Which we still have to talk about. Holy shit. There was no player threatening his potential ability to start at third base. Like, Oswaldo Cabrera and Oswald Peraza are not threats. They are younger players whose known commodity is pretty much determined at this point. Do I think that they have a little bit higher ceiling? Sure. But do I think they are everyday major leaguers who are going to steal a position from a veteran? Not really. Like, no. And then you look at Dom Smith and Pablo Reyes and Braden Shoemake, and it's like, are these guys fine? Sure. Like Braden Shoemake has the first round draft pick luster on him. Dom Smith had a solid showing with the Red Sox last year. Pablo Reyes is 2 years removed from a nice showing, but like there's nobody breathing down your neck in any of these position battles, right? Like even Dominguez, Aaron Boone has the balls to tell us Jason Dominguez is competing for a left field. Who's competing with him? There is nobody out there competing with him. And Trent Grisham is not, because Trent Grisham's not a left fielder. So unless you were going to restructure your entire outfield and, maybe put Dominguez in center and swap him out with Grisham and Bellinger as you see fit and figure out left field, like you did not put yourself in a position to foster competition at any of these roles. So that's where the passing on Iglesias and other Brendan Rodgers and even Quintana raises my eyebrow. I'm like, are you guys this afraid to like upend a status quo that's like not even set? Like, who are you afraid to upset in these situations? Like nobody here nobody in these positions that are currently, fighting for more reps is like established, or like you're not disrespecting anybody. Like DJ LeMahieu, as much as he is a long-term veteran, he has not appeared in a playoff game in 4 years. He has not had a suitable season in 4 years. That is now somebody who has to compete for a job, whether he likes it or not. It's just the reality of it. So I don't know where the Yankees thinking is with any of this. Both of those deals frustrated me. And, I look at the Mets too, and I'm just like, what are you guys doing? I know you spent a lot of money, but this is $5 million for 2 players that helped you to the NLCS last year. And then the Yankees could have just done their best Mets impression and said, hey, fuck it, we're taking these 2 Mets players and we're going to get them for cheap and we're going to burn them and it's going to be funny to watch. But yeah, I mean, it's weird. All the obvious like micro free agent picks, minor league signings, like depth additions, the Yankees really just ignored them.
Feels that way. And one player that they certainly ignore is the aforementioned DJ LeMahieu. Actually, we're going to wrap this podcast talking about 2 people who they've ignored recently, and both of whom they technically probably should have. I mean, look, DJ LeMahieu, I think the Yankees have made it everybody. We got on Red Sox fans for watching, somebody else's paper and watching Garrett Cole and tweeting about him today. I hope you guys had fun. We'll get on Yankee fans for this too. Spring training begins and the Yankees say, a healthy DJ LeMahieu could be a game changer. And all of Yankees Twitter pees their diaper like, oh my God, he's starting on opening day. My life is over. Meanwhile, they put him in an open competition for third base for all intents and purposes. He plays 1 game Saturday, March 1st. He does not play the first week plus of spring training games, right? If someone's really in an open competition, they're probably out there every day. Oswald Peraza's hitting 9th in almost every lineup, 9th behind people who aren't going to make the team, right? These are simple. You can read them one way or another. You can say he's going to bat 9th when he plays during the regular season, so that's where we're batting him, so he gets used to rolling the lineup over. You can also say people who don't matter to the team's immediate future are getting more reps than him. That's kind of weird. But Oswald Peraza's playing a lot, and LeMahieu's not playing at all. So for all the open competition truthers, it was just a sham to get LeMahieu to opening day. I mean, he wasn't getting the reps. It would have been ridiculous for him to show up and have 8 at-bats like David Spade in the audience at SNL 50 going, yeah, I got a handle on it or whatever. Like, he barely participated. And then he plays 1 game. First AB takes a swing that looks awful. Second AB, goes off without a hitch, technically, just grounds out. And then apparently injured his calf. They tell you in the second AB, I would guess in the first AB when he was late, stepped into one and swung above the strike zone on 2 strikes. But they take him to the doctor. They say it's going to be a while. Of course it is. Comes back to camp today and says it's a grade 1 or 2 strain. I'm going to be down a while. I'm going to talk to the Yankees doctor today about timeline. Grade 1 or 2? I mean, they're not even hiding it. A doctor knows what grade it is. DJ LeMahieu knows what grade it is. He's not going to start the year on the active roster. He's not getting a full spring training. Whenever he starts training, he's going to need 3 weeks to a month in the minors. At least. So he'll be active in mid-April. and then he'll have to play 3 weeks of rehab games, maybe at the FCL, or he's not going to be ready till May 15th. So now he's on the 60-day IL, probably because they're going to have they won't have the difficult DFA conversation, but they'll have that conversation. Sorry, you're not going to be able to help us till end of May anyway. So let's just reset your clock. Take this slow. He's not going to play till June, if at all. So you know all you needed to know about the Yankees strategy here. You can't help but feel like they were hoping that this might happen. I'm not saying they were praying for DJ LeMahieu's downfall, but they got a minor calf tweak. They're not even saying what grade it is, but they're saying it's going to be a while. That's how you know they're going to make sure that it's a while at this point. So everybody who panicked because Aaron Boone stuck up for DJ LeMahieu in the middle of February, what else was he supposed to say, by the way? Yeah, not counting on DJ at all. He's here, but we know he'll be a non-factor. Like, everybody's mad about Boone defending his players, but what's he supposed to do there? He did what he had to do. They gave LeMahieu, they didn't really give him a chance. They said they would, and they gave him one game, and he's hurt, and now he's down a while, and we don't even know the severity. He told us 2 different kinds of severities. So that told me all I needed to know.
Yeah, I mean, again, much like the other situation we're about to talk about, the expiration date here is long overdue. And this is what happens when you prolong situations that are not working out for years on end. It's the Yankees specialty, whether it's the fault of the front office or whether it's the fault of player leadership, because apparently, we talked last time about how Yankees veterans prevented the DFA late last year because they didn't want to see DJ go out that way. Fact of the matter is that he's going to go out that way regardless. He's not ready to play baseball. He hasn't had the requisite reps in order to get back to where he needs to be anyway. And he's 36. He's heading into his age 36 season. So unfortunately the party's over. And again, if they're not working expediently to get him back on the field, I think that's the answer. It's because they don't want to, and they don't feel a need to. And I do think to a degree there is a concern being like, well, we do have to take our time with DJ because he's been oft injured, and we don't want this to further snowball. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but the longer you keep him off the field and the longer you keep him out of the competition, the more irrelevant he becomes. And then the less effective he is, popping in the lineup at the end of May. Oh, great, DJ LeMahieu starting. We have 3 weeks of rollovers before maybe we see progress. So it's upsetting. It really is. But the Yankees are doing what they do always. They're going to watch this die on the vine in a way that is agonizing for everybody. And it's much like what they did with, survey says, Gleyber Torres. Talking again. Don't know why he's talking still. I don't understand any of it, really.
I don't understand.
I'm trying to find words. I just don't understand.
I'd love to understand. It would feel so good to understand. Why is this still happening?
Why? I mean, the media might be asking him, but I don't think that the last round of questioning, two times ago, he was asked about the situation in terms of the Yankees' position switch. And he said, things aren't good over there, apparently. I thought they were fine, and apparently they're not good. So it's like, hey, what are you talking about?
Because Brian Cashman was talking about how, I actually acquired Jazz to do this, and we couldn't make it happen because Gleyber Torres didn't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And he posted that Instagram story of him, in cowboy boots, kicking against the side of a car, being
even after that, there was another thing after that where they were like, let me see if I could pull it up.
Yeah, I think after that, they actually did talk to him to be like, what's your reaction to that? And at least, though, to me at that point, it was somewhat prompted by the conversation of others. And it was annoying, but we were asking him about, hey, they're talking about you over at Yankees camp. What's all this then? This time around, it was literally, who is stalking Gleyber Torres to Lakeland just to be like, did you feel respected by the Yankees on the way out? He's got a big-ass beard now. I don't need to hear, I feel like I deserve to be with an organization that wants me. I'm here now, and that's the reason I'm here. Did you feel wanted with the Yankees? I don't know. Maybe you can ask him, Torres said, Yankees general manager Brian Cashman. I mean, I onus is partially on Torres because he did give us the I'm not even listening to you guys Instagram story last time. But at the same time, don't ask him about it. If he's in the World Series or facing the Yankees in the ALCS, then I look forward to the work about Gleyber Torres's end of his relationship in New York. But for now, let's see if he has a breakout year. That has long been foretold. Let's see if the defense comes along, and then we'll leave it at that. I do not need to be reevaluating this on March 6th.
Yeah, I also just don't understand his comments about being wanted. Yankees fans wanted Gleyber Torres. The Yankees organization wanted Gleyber Torres. He's not 7 years.
He's not the first player to change teams at the end of a pre-arb and arbitration.
He's acting like that. He's acting like he's been wronged or disrespected, and it's crazy because how much did the Tigers want Gleyber Torres? They offered him a 1-year, $15 million contract, which was $800,000 more than he made last year in his final year of arbitration with the Yankees. So it's not like the Tigers came calling with a lucrative 5-year offer and the Yankees said, we're not interested at all. And then he was like, yeah, well, the Tigers wanted me and that's where I went. Like that would have been a respectable response given the circumstances, but he was given a 1-year deal because clearly they saw the advantage in him needing to rebuild his market. So like how much they wanted him is still up for debate. And secondly, like I just said, everybody in New York wanted this to succeed. There was no hotter name at the time outside of Aaron Judge after the 2019 season than Gleyber Torres. He was coming off 2 All-Star campaigns. He was one of the best young players in the sport. And then ever since 2019, he's been not great. He was never able to replicate anything that he did in an all-around, all-encompassing role for defense and offense. His mental lapses increased over time, which is not what's supposed to happen with a veteran player. He led the league in errors 3 times and nearly did it a 4th. His ability to come through in the clutch gradually declined over the years. His hustle was well documented as being poor. His body language was awful, as we've seen over the last few years. And is some of that the Yankees' fault? Absolutely. The Yankees wanted to trade him 2 years ago, and instead of doing that, they let the rumors leak and escalate and get to a point where it affected him so badly mentally that his play completely cratered. Yeah. So yes, the Yankees are at fault here, but Gleyber Torres was also, in my opinion, a little bit childish about position switches. Like the plan for him was to always be the shortstop of the future when he came up. It was to his prospect growth was fast, so it didn't align with the timeline with Didi Gregorius being at shortstop. So the Yankees said, great, when Didi's out of town, like this is the shortstop plan. Gleyber Torres came up in the minor leagues as a shortstop. Then he moves to shortstop in 2020, can't handle the position, and then he pouts in 2021 about it, and he gets second base back. And then things are not working for the next couple seasons. They either want to trade him or they're trying to move his position, and they're leaving like the Yankees' fault. They leave it up to Gleyber Torres to choose if he's switching positions. That's not an option. That shouldn't be an option for him. So I blame the Yankees a lot here, but at the same time, like Gleyber Torres needs to let it go. Like the Yankees and Yankees fans wanted him to succeed, and he provided new reasons every other week as to why that was going to become a more frustrating endeavor, because he was working against himself in addition to whatever else was going on around him, to make this a worse relationship. So, and again, not sure how much the Tigers wanted him by offering him a 1-year deal with absolutely no risk attached to it. Like that's a smaller market team taking advantage of your market, Gleyber Torres. That's what that is.
Yep, that's what it seems like to me. I still wish him the best of luck. I don't wish him the worst of luck, but I want to be wanted. He was here for a couple of years longer than he probably should have been, and he performed admirably in the second half last year, but this didn't even get that toxic during his time here. I thought, and maybe there was more going on behind the scenes than I know.
Probably was,
but here, fresh opportunity, fresh start with a really good team. So make the most of it. Doesn't need to talk about the Yankees anymore, and no one needs to ask him about it until it's relevant, until he comes back to Yankee Stadium, until the Yankees go there, till they face off in the playoffs. Until then, let's take a break. The beard does look good, though. We will see everybody back here Monday afternoon, 2:00 Eastern, on the Yanks Go Yard podcast every Monday, every Thursday, and on all your favorite podcast platforms afterwards, and an audio version. I am Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carannante, where can the people find you?
At Tommy's_takes. We are both at the official Yanks Go Yard account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. As always, literally the easiest thing you could do. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Loving it. Spring training here, opening day, 3 weeks. We're ready, man. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. Plenty of content there for you. We're staying up to date with all of the developments. Spring breakout stuff is here. We got injury updates. We have who's hot and who's cold in the spring. We got rotation projections, opening day roster project. Anything you can think of, we got it. Don't worry about it. Just head on over there. Keep reading. We appreciate your guys' support. And until then, enjoy your weekend.
Enjoy the hell out of your weekend. It's getting warmer again. Times are almost good. Sometimes they're bad. But man, enjoy that weather. We'll see you back here on Monday, and we'll hear you on all audio platforms as well. Take care, everybody.